Well, let's stay with matters in the Middle East. South Africa tomorrow expected to go back to the International Court of Justice to present more evidence to its genocide case against Israel over the Gaza war. Pretoria says it will present what it says are new facts that civilians in schools, hospitals and mosques are being targeted. It could be years, though, before there is a ruling. Let's discuss this now with University of Johannesburg's Dr. Oscar van Heerden. Dr. van Heerden, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. And I speak to you on the occasion that's been observed by the ANC, and today would have been the birthday of its longest-serving President General, Oliver Reginald Tambo, someone who has been described as an internationalist because of his organizing skills in trying to bring down apartheid, even organizing in the international community. And I'm saying this to you as a preface to this discussion that we are about to have, because the president of the ANC, as he was speaking today, it didn't mention, though, what is happening in the world, but of course, acknowledging the work that Oliver Tambo had done. In your view, what do you think Oliver Tambo would have said and done in the face of a geopolitics that is looking more and more scary by the day?
Yes, no, of course. I mean, I think that, as we all know, and you rightfully point out, Oliver Tambo was certainly one of our foremost internationalists. It is because of his relentless work that the ANC got various status in the United Nations, in London, and other places. And of course, through his efforts and others around him, but mainly through his efforts, also making sure that the anti-apartheid movement actually grew and stood for justice globally, not only in terms of South Africa, but actually globally. And I think that he would have been very concerned about the kind of conflicts that is taking place against the Palestinians, that is taking place in Ukraine. And of course, the saber-rattling continues between the United States and China. And some are even talking of the fact that it's a new Cold War that's happening, hoping that it's not becoming a hot war, because that is also a possibility. But yeah, I think OR Tambo would have been very circumspect and very concerned with the current situation. And of course, the question that he would have asked is, what is it that the ANC, what is it that South Africa can do to try and assist in bringing an end to such conflicts?
Yeah. I want to quote the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. This is ahead of the case that is going to be once again presented to the ICJ. Minister Ronald Lamola, he was quoted in a recent interview with the Daily Maverick saying that this evidence is going to be, quote unquote, forensic in nature, and it will show that this is not just a plausible case of genocide, but indeed genocide. How easy or difficult do you think that is going to be? Or is it your view that South Africa has presented already a solid enough case?
I think that, firstly, the South African government definitely did put up a good case at the beginning. And the reason for this is because the court had already found preliminary findings, which was in favor of those that was presented to them by the South African government. And so that was already quite a powerful presentation. This now is, again, adding evidence to the claim. And I think when the minister talks of forensic evidence, really what it is that they went through matters with a fine-tooth comb, looked at various footage. I'm sure that there's also accounts from certain people in Gaza and so forth. And this is what they're going to now present to the court. And it's for the judges to then look at whether it is indeed holding up as presented by the South African government or to a case of genocide. But as you rightfully point out, This is still a matter that is going to have to be investigated from the court's perspective. They'd have to send people in, they'd have to collect hard evidence, and so on and so forth. So it's a further step closer to a ruling that says Israel is involved in genocide.
There are interesting movements that are taking place, Dr. van Heerden. The United States, Joe Biden is going to soon leave office. Benjamin Netanyahu has effectively outlasted the US president. This is something that many had thought wouldn't be the case, that because of the October 7 attacks, Netanyahu would have possibly be gone by now, but he is still in office. Your view about where this war is likely to go now, or do you foresee the end game for Israel, and what might that be?
Well, if we listen and interpret what is being said by both candidates, Vice President Kamala Harris as well as former President Trump, then it is quite clear with regards to the Middle East, I think it is going to be a continuation. And what I mean by that is that the United States Congress is going to continue supporting Netanyahu's right-wing government, is going to continue giving him funding, giving him arms, and we don't know where it is all going to end because they are, they're speaking with a forked tongue. They say that they want a ceasefire. They say that they're engaging with the Israelis to get out of South Lebanon. But then weeks later or days later, we then hear of shipments of arms that are being sent to Israel. So, the US has simply not been an honest broker with regards to this matter. And I think that whether Trump wins or whether Kamala Harris wins, the support for the Israeli government is going to continue.
And as we conclude the conversation, Dr. van Heerden, I think what should not be lost on the audience here in South Africa and indeed in many other countries is the suffering of the people of Gaza. That has not stopped. And of course, this month being the month of October, Israel, on the other hand, also observing the first anniversary of the October 7 attacks. But there is yet more calamity in the Middle East because Lebanon is also now firmly in the sights of Israel. It is being pummeled, and there are civilians who are also the casualties there. What are we to make of this situation? I'm talking about the humanitarian aspect of this war. Is the UN doing enough?
Well, the UN is hamstrung. I mean, if there's any lesson to be learned with this continuous genocide, is that the United Nations and the United Nations Security Council has proven to be ineffective. There's nothing they can do. The Secretary General reads speech after speech about condemnation and being very concerned, and Israel just declared him a persona non grata. It's the first time a country has even attempted something like that, to say to the Secretary General of the UN, you are no longer a person of good standing as far as we are concerned, and you are not welcome. These are unprecedented times. Countries speaking and don't care. They don't care about the Palestinians. They don't care about the fact that tens of thousands are being mass murdered. Every time we hear, just a few hours ago, again, there was an airstrike that killed 35 Palestinians. It's like it's just another everyday work. And yet people want us to remember what happened on October 7, because it happened to the Israelis. There has been many attacks and killings of Palestinians. There's been many attacks besides this ongoing war that is happening against the defenseless people. I mean, women and children are the ones that are being killed. So I think the situation is untenable. and no one can be trusted. The West has made it clear they are supporting Israel, and no one cares about the Palestinians.